Okay, we're going deeper into clarification. Identifying as awareness does not immediately remove momentum. It doesn't instantly erase conditioning, and it doesn't magically silence the nervous system. It doesn't mean the 3D rearranges itself on demand. These are my experiences. What it does is change your resource base. That's the difference. When you identify as the character, you are a limited self trying to survive circumstances. When you identify as awareness, you are the source of experience itself. That shift doesn't always change what's happening immediately. It changes who it's happening from. And that matters so much more than most realize. Because when you're living as the limited character, every challenge feels like a threat. Money becomes survival. Health becomes fear. Relationships become validation. Time becomes pressure. Everything feels scarce. But when you identify as awareness, you are no longer operating from scarcity. Not because you suddenly have everything physically, but because you're no longer sourcing yourself from the small version of you. Awareness is not a coping strategy. It's unlimited resource. Not unlimited money instantly, not unlimited perfect outcomes on demand. Unlimited capacity, unlimited intelligence, unlimited ability to reorient, unlimited ways to restructure what unfolds. That's very different. And here's the part that needs to be said honestly. The shift reduces unnecessary suffering over time. Over time. Not because the awareness isn't powerful, but because momentum exists. Grooves built over years don't dissolve just because you had a realization. But here's what changes immediately. You are no longer trapped inside the groove. You're watching it. And that changes the structure of your experience. Suffering is optional. Optional does not mean effortless. Optional does not mean instant. Optional does not mean you won't feel intensity sometimes. Optional means you don't have to keep identifying with what hurts. That's the difference. You can feel sadness without being the sad one. You can feel fear without being the fearful identity. You can feel pressure without collapsing into survival mode. That's structural change, foundational change. And yes, sometimes things turn around immediately. I've seen it. You've seen it. And sometimes they don't. That doesn't invalidate awareness. It reveals momentum. But when you're identified as awareness, momentum doesn't define you. It passes through. And here's the deeper truth. Most of what people call suffering isn't the event, it's the identification. It's the ongoing commentary. It's the reinforcement of the story. It's the thought, this means something about me. When you identify as awareness, that commentary loses authority. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to silence it. You don't have to override it. You simply stop sourcing yourself from it. That's not pretending it isn't happening. It's repositioning yourself while it's happening and not sourcing yourself from it. That's structural repositioning. And that's why this matters. Because awareness is fulfillment, not in a fantasy way, in a structural way. Anything that exists must exist within awareness. Anything that unfolds within awareness. So when you identify as awareness, you are no longer trying to acquire from outside yourself. You are selecting from within. That's authority. And authority isn't loud or boastful. It's steady. So the real question becomes this: do you begin living from that now? Or do you keep reinforcing the old identity of limitation and reaction? That's not pressure. It is an invitation. In my experience, identity reorganizes reality. In my experience, awareness precedes form. In my experience, assuming something restructures what unfolds. You don't have to agree, but if something in you recognizes this, then you already know. And if you're in the middle of the momentum right now, if it feels scary or loud, if it feels strong, that doesn't mean you failed in any way. It means you're in transition. And transition takes stabilization. If you want help stabilizing this, not intellectually, but structurally, I work one-on-one with people on exactly this. Confusion fed by repetition doesn't resolve. It entrenches. You don't have to sit in that. My email is in the bio.